Reserve podcast. I'm Jason Balen from Hard Money Bankers and my co-host Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We promise we'll keep this educational, but we also like to keep this, fun, especially when we bring guests on here. If you're a return viewer, follower, listener, thank you so much for the support. We certainly couldn't do it without you. We have a great guest lined up here today that we're going to introduce, and how he got started into real estate investing, and then how he actually developed software to help expand his real estate investment, his real estate investments. So looking forward to this one, Ian.
Yeah, no, I know you've gone down the road of developing a couple of online softwares and platforms. So it'll be interesting to see how our guest has navigated that versus what you dealt with. But with that being said, guys, if you get any value out of this podcast, the best compliment we can give our guests is by sharing this. We don't care about the 5-star reviews. If you want to do that, great, like buttons, whatever, just share it, right? Like if you get value out of it, that's the best way we can compliment our guests. So enough about us, and let's just get right into it. Why don't we bring Sharad in from reSimpli? What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, Ian. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, man. You told us you're in the land of the best weather in the whole country. You're based out of San Diego. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Love living here. Actually, just moved here from Canada about a year ago. Yeah. So enjoying a little bit different weather. Get to wear shorts all year round. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, I guess trading in the snow is a very, very smart move. Sharad, you want to give us a little background about yourself?
Yeah,
what you're currently doing in the real estate space.
sure. Yeah, my name is Sharad Mehta. I live in San Diego area. I started investing real estate August 2010. It's when I bought my first property. And I was a full-time accountant. I was looking for primarily freedom of time and money. That was my motivation to get into real estate. It was a great company that I was working for, but I didn't like the work that I was doing. So I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed. At one point, I wanted to be an attorney, a full-time poker player. Absolutely sucked at both of them. And then came across a book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I was reading a personal finance blog, and someone had mentioned this book in the comment section. So clicked on it, read the book. And I'm like, this is exactly what I want to be. Millionaire and real estate investor doesn't sound bad at all. So I just went down the rabbit hole of doing shit tons of research on bigger pockets and ended up buying my first property August 2010, 2-unit property, still own it. Bought it for 25, put 10,000 into it, and I was getting $1,200 a month in rent. I'm like, wow, this is absolutely amazing, and then bought more property after that. So my goal was to just kind of keep investing more and more into cash flow properties. And I was also following, because I used to be an accountant, so was a lot into personal finance, following Dave Ramsey. And then I think at the time that I was investing, plus following Dave Ramsey, I had this philosophy of paying down my properties as quickly as possible and just living debt free. So I own 50 units. I have debt on 5 units, I think, and all the other ones are paid for free and clear. And that's kind of what I wanted. And then I did that, then started flipping. And then 2015, I moved from Chicago, downtown Chicago, where I was living. And I think I mentioned, yeah, I invest in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. So I moved to San Diego area where I live now. In between, I moved 3 years to Canada, then moved back here. And I started a software company, reSimpli.com, which I run and help other investors manage their investing business. I own a property management company also, and now I flip about 20, 25, 30 houses a year. Yeah.
Nice. So dabbling in kind of all aspects of residential real estate. Yeah, definitely want to dive into reSimpli. I guess that's how you pronounce it. reSimpli, not
Correct.
not re.
Either is fine. Yeah. Either is fine.
We'll dive into that here in a little bit, but I'm curious, a little bit about the real estate that you purchased. You obviously, for financial freedom reasons, you want to buy those rental properties and cash flow, and I think that's what most people wanted to get into real estate. Like, the flips that you do, right? Like you said, you've done a few dozen flips, plus you manage property management company, plus you have software company. Like, how is your operation set up? Like, how many people are on your staff? What do your projects look like? How are you financing some of these flips? How are you finding some of these flips? I know a lot of real estate investors, they kind of get overwhelmed of, it's like, wow, how are you doing that? There's only so much time in the day, so how can you walk us through maybe how, you're able to flip that many projects a year?
Yeah, for sure. So I've done over 800 flips since I started investing like back in 2010. I did majority of them from 2012 to 14-15 time period. I was selling a lot of properties to overseas investor, primarily Australian investor, because the Australian dollar was strong against US dollar back in the day. So I was selling a lot of properties to Australian investors. And now I do about 25, 30 flips a year. So I live in San Diego area. My project manager, she lives an hour north of me in Corona, California. And I have a virtual assistant, my acquisition / lead manager, he lives in Philippines. So we don't have anyone remote. Everyone is remote. We don't have anyone local in Indiana market. So it's a very virtual remote business. We've over the years, we've developed some really good systems and processes. So just to give you context, if in any given day I'm spending more than, and I'm not exaggerating, just, for the show or anything, if in any given day, if I'm spending more than 10, 15 minutes in my house flipping business, something has gone wrong somewhere. So at most, my involvement is like 10, 15 minutes. Like we do a 5-minute huddle in the morning just to talk about some of the offers we're making or offers we're receiving on some projects. And then my biggest role in the company is to make sure we always have enough money to buy the kind of properties that we need to buy. And how I fund these deals, my rental properties are paid for free and clear, except for like 5 units, which I have a loan of just 25,000. So I have a line of credit against those properties. I use that for the flips, and then I use some of my own money for the flips. And then how we buy these properties. This year, we've been able to get some properties from MLS, pre-foreclosure. We got a short sale, but we do a lot of direct-to-seller marketing, also direct mail, PPC, paper lead. Those are some of the primary marketing channels for off-market.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of good points. I want to talk a little bit about the MLS stuff here in a second, but I want to take a step back because when we do our masterminds or we're at events, people are always like talking about leadership and being a good leader. I mean, presumably if you're spending 5 to 10 minutes on your business, and I believe you that you're not spending more than that, you've created systems and processes, but you've also been a good leader to empower people. Like, where did you learn that from? Was it a natural skill set? Did you have to hone it in? Like, did you lead with process or did you lead with the people? Like, what worked for you to implement that business model of giving everybody autonomy?
That's a great question, Ian. If I led with people or process, I think process, but it wasn't fully baked process. It was like a loose process that I'm like, okay, this is working for me. But the biggest difference that's been in my business is having the right people and then having a loose process to start with. And this is not what I recommend. I mean, I recommend having like a good process that you have and then finding the right people to fit in that process. So one book that, if I look back, that had a big influence in my business was, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I think that just kind of gave me this idea, okay, we could systemize our business, have these processes built around. For example, if you're doing some flips, right? In my mind, I might have this idea of, okay, every flip has to look different, right? Because I'm the one looking at all of them. But, if we invest in a small market, there's like a few different cities, but I'm thinking if we're doing like 5 flips, but they're in like 3 or 4 different cities, they don't all have to look totally different from each other, right? We could use a lot of the material like flooring, paint, tiles that could all be the same from one project to another. So that was a big shift on me. So one thing I'm like to do is like have very, very minimal decisions in my business. Like to give you an idea, like I have like 10 of these t-shirts, so I don't like to Get up in the morning, think about what I'm going to wear, just like to wear the same stuff. Like it doesn't matter to me that I'm wearing the same clothes every single day. I have the exact same 2 pair of jeans. I bought one. I'm like, this is really good, really comfortable. I'm just going to buy another pair. So I don't even have to think about, what to do. So that's how I like very, very simple things. And then being very intentional about guarding my time. So my project manager, Claudia, she's been with me since 2016. So 7, 8 years now. And she's the one who manages the business day-to-day operations. So I give her a good base, plus a very good incentive structure. So the more money we make in the business, the more money she makes. And then it comes down to, like, once you have the right people in the business, then there's no science about it. You have to. I mean, initially for me, I've gone based on the gut feeling. Yeah, we do interview, then you go based on the gut feeling. Hey, this person seems like a great fit. And then, you just see if they're the right fit. But once you find the right fit, at least for me, what's worked is like to almost like get out of their way and let them do what they're doing, and just, let them be really good at what their strengths are. And if they have some weaknesses, find some other people or other systems or processes to complement the weaknesses that they have. So Claudia is very aware that rather than bringing a problem to me, sometime, like if there's a problem, if it's a solve, she'll solve it and not even tell me about it. Right? She'll bring something to me where she's not sure how to handle, and even then she's not bringing me a problem. She's saying, hey Sharad, this is the issue that we have, and this is a solution that I think we should do. What do you think? And then she'll come with all the research. And for example, we bought a house end of last year, earlier this year, in a city where we had never bought a house. The numbers look great. We bought the house for like 60,000. And we thought we were going to flip it, spend like 50,000 on it, and all in for about like 110, and then flip it for 200,000. It turned out that city is absolutely a pain to work with. Right? We spent about 10,000 cleaning it up, and then Claudia said, hey Sharad, we're going to list it on the market. I've already found an agent. This is how much we're going to list it on the market for, and this is how much we can make. So initially the project, we thought it was going to be a problem. We're closing on it on Monday. We're selling it for about 150,000. So our net to us would be 141 on a project that we spent 75, which I honestly don't even know the address. I've not even seen the pictures. I just know the city that's in. So that's how much control I've given Claudia. Like on our flips that we do, I've set up a separate bank account to her, and we close on everything that we get under contract, and then we do flips like 40, 50,000, 100,000 in some cases. I've set up a separate bank account for her. I put money into the bank account. She pays the contractors. I just manage everything from the numbers to see, okay, this is what we thought we were going to make. Are we making that much in every profit? More, less? If we're making that much or more, great. I don't need to question that. If you're making less, we look at, okay, did we miss something on the process? Did we overestimate our ARB? Did we underestimate our rehab costs? Like the contractors that we're working for us, I've never talked to them. I don't know their names. I have no idea if like you were one of the contractors, I would have no idea that you're working on one of the projects. I don't need to know that. That's something that doesn't add value to me knowing or talking to them. Claudia manages that, and she does way better job than I would ever be able to do.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that's something that probably most people listening to are a little envious of. And I mean, I'm sure it takes time, right? That didn't happen day one, right?
It did not. Yeah, I mean, we've had our bad share of contractors also. We've hired people, and then that'll happen with anyone. Like you hire someone and you think, hey, this is going to be a great fit based on how they interviewed, how they showed up, but then it turns out, no, it's not. But then you just got to move on and see, okay, is there something I missed during the interview process, or it was just something the person was really good at interviewing and we did everything we could have. It was just like, it just happened that the person didn't like the job, or it wasn't a good cultural fit, or whatever it might be, and they just move on and try to move on to the next person.
So why reSimpli? I'm guessing that reSimpli. I'm guessing because you start developing systems inside your business, and maybe Google Sheets or some sort of internal software to help you run your your real estate business. Is that kind of where the concept started?
Yeah, I did. So 2015, August 2015, I moved from Chicago to San Diego area for my wife's job. And, that's when I started looking at like all the inefficiencies that I had in my business and everything we were doing. I started looking at some systems, and I didn't find any software that I really like fell in love with. You know, 4D was pretty much what most of the people were using, but then I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the idea of integrating all these softwares. I felt like I'm never going to be excited getting up in the morning and saying, "Oh wow, I can't wait to integrate another software today." So I'm like, you know what? So 2016, I hired a couple of developers and um, had them create something for us. So we had three requirements. It had to be an all-in-one software eventually. It had to be super simple to use, hence the name reSimpli, and it had to give really good data. So coming from accounting background and being like 4 hours flight away from where I was investing, I wanted to be able to make decisions based on the data that I have rather than, people bullshitting and saying, "Oh yeah, this is going great. We're doing great in the business." I wanted to be able to make decision based on, hey, it's great. You have this good opinion about how our business. Let's just look at the numbers. Let's just see if the numbers agree with the idea that you have about the business. So those were the three requirements that we had, and at this point, reSimpli is the only software we use in our business. Everything from like marketing, CRM, bookkeeping, accounting, everything. Like we don't even use QuickBooks. We just use reSimpli. I haven't used QuickBooks in last 2 or 3 years. So everything is like, and then because we have the financial data, so we're able to go in and look at every single project, how that project is doing, right? If you spend, if Claudia says, "Hey, we're going to list this property for 200," I can just go in and say, like, as of right now, how much money we've spent on this property. My bookkeeper, my accountant are also in the software. So they're updating the books on a weekly basis. I can go in and see at any given time how much money we spent on a project, right? How much money are we gonna make? So like it's important for us to make decisions based on the numbers and then just keep it, very structured. Okay, like let's just see what the business is doing, right? Our net profit needs to be like 40 to 50%. If we drop below 40%, that means there's some inefficiency that's creeped into our business. That's how I like to look at it. Like a net profit percentage needs to be like 40-50%. So I look at that on a high level and then dig deep into the numbers and see, okay, if it's less than 40%, like are we spending too much money on the marketing or payroll? Generally those two tend to be the biggest expenses people have in their business, either marketing or payroll. So if your net profit is less than 40%, that means you're either paying more in the marketing or you have too many people on your payroll. It's one of those two reasons for most people.
Yeah, no, that is really impressive. I sit here and fight in the storage space. I'm like, dude, everything's a bolt on to the management software. This is a waste of my time. Why, why is accounting outside of there? Every other property management software we use, everything's baked in. Like, I never understood that. And it sounds like you solved a pretty good problem. And you've whether you're bolting stuff on internally or programming it yourself, like that is really, really smart, because I think that hurdle, the thought process of accounting, and not enough people treat real estate like a true business and understand their numbers.
Oh, yeah, you're so right about that.
Yeah, they all treat it like my accountant's doing it. I'm like, well, no,
Yeah.
pull me a P&L right now and a balance sheet, and then we can have a conversation. Until then, it's a hobby to you.
Oh my God. That is the boring stuff that actually makes you money in the business.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's the boring stuff that makes you money. Like it's like losing weight, right? Going to the gym every day, eating healthy, that's the only way to lose weight. That's it. Like you can't go to the gym, not eat healthy, or you can't, eat healthy and then you have this like really bad lifestyle. Like it's the boring stuff. You're so right, Ian. Like people don't treat it as a business. They just look at it as it's just like it's almost like they've created a job for themselves. And people that are successful, that we see investors that are doing, 10, 15, 20, 30 deals a month consistently using reSimpli are the ones that treat it as a business. They make decisions. They look at their data. That's where they know they have that's where the power lies. That's where they have the advantage over someone else. It's gaining inefficiency. It's gaining efficiency in their business. That's how they get to the next level. That's how like they really increase the profit margins.
Yeah, and I mean, you said you're in Indiana or Illinois? I can't remember.
I used to live in Chicago,
Yeah.
moved, and I was investing in Northwest Indiana, which is like, just for context, it's like 30, 45 minutes out. I was right, Indiana at the market, I invested, it's right on Illinois-Indiana border.
Yeah, because I was going to say the data is important, especially in Illinois with all the property tax crap that's going on out there.
Oh my God.
It's
Yeah,
insane, right? So,
it is
but
crazy.
if
Yeah.
if you're not in tune with your business, like you can't make that business decision, right?
You
And not
cannot.
enough people.
Yeah.
People just buy software to buy software and say that software is useless. But if you don't put the data in the software, you can't make a good decision. And I think that's
Yeah,
where a lot of the issues
exactly. I think
align.
it's important for people to have a system to use in their business, right? It's like I keep going back to the example losing weight, right? I mean, you have like in my I go to F45. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's a
Yep.
I go to F45. And I was looking at, when I was looking to join a gym, I looked at F45 and Orange Theory Fitness, right? I chose F45 because it's just literally I can walk. It's a 2-minute drive from where I live, or I can walk there for 5 minutes. That was the reason I joined. And the Orange Theory Fitness was 10 minutes, right? It may be better, but I'm like, this is the gym I can commit to going 4 or 5 times a week. I think that's
Mhm.
what happened with people. As long as you follow a system, it could be a notebook and a pen, but you need to follow it day in, day out, and then figure out, okay, how can I leverage the system more? That's what a lot of people do. They expect to for the system to do the work for them, and they're not consistent enough to follow the system day in, day out. And looking at the data, that's where I feel like there's such a huge opportunity people miss, right? I always ask people, they have these like vanity metrics of, oh, I want to make 7-figure in my business. Great, but how much do you want to keep at the end of the day? Would you be happy if you made $1 million in your business and had like $50,000-$100,000 net profit? Or would you rather have a business that grosses 700,000-800,000 and you're able to walk away with 350,000-400,000? I would much rather have that business. That sounds way more appealing to me than the $1 million business, because it has a lot of inefficiency. It's like it's bloated. I'm spending too much on marketing, or I have too many people on my, in my business, and then it's going to suck up a lot of my time. I think that's where people don't realize how important it is to make data-driven decisions. Like, look at your costs, right? Start with a very high level. How much money are you making, your net profit percentage, right? And then start looking at what percentage of your revenue you're spending on marketing, what percentage of your revenue you're spending in payroll, right? If you're spending anything more than like 30 to 35% of your revenue into marketing, there is some inefficiency in your marketing, right? Same thing on the payroll. Maybe you have too many people, or you have, you're paying someone way too much than they need to be making. So start with that. Like, marketing and your marketing and payroll, generally those tend to be the biggest. Start with that, and then once you get to like 40%, like 35-40%, okay, you have a business that is running efficiently. Then figure out where else can you gain efficiency in your business, and try to push for like 40 to 50% net profit percentage. But that can only happen if you're making decisions from data, and not just based on the gut feeling. Oh, I'm doing 10 deals a month. Great. But are you actually even keeping any of that money? Yeah.
It just goes into the next project, and then you just keep
Yeah,
it going,
exactly.
keep it going, and then as soon as you need something, you buy it out of your operating account.
Yeah, exactly.
I see it firsthand from our lending companies that we lend money to all the time, and I'm like,
yeah.
you did a ton of projects, but do you have anything to show for it at the end of the year?
Yeah, and then investors like to try to hide in, oh, it's a tax write-off. Yeah, it's this or that. No, dude, it's not. Just like, are you keeping any of that money for yourself, for your future?
Yeah.
And too many investors have no idea what's going on with their finances.
Yeah. What do you think a data point that people, I know you've alluded to marketing and payroll, but like, what's a data point like someone could go look at today that they're not thinking? Like, payroll and marketing's obvious.
Yeah.
What's like one of the secret ones that you think people should be looking
Oh,
at? To
like
be like, yo,
the
dude,
most important, like, so people like to focus in my opinion, like way too much on cost per lead and cost per deal, right? They're like, oh, what's your cost per lead? What's your cost per deal? It's great to know, but those are like secondary metrics you need to look at, right? You need to look at, okay, what's my ROI? So ROI is for every dollar that you put into marketing, how much revenue comes back into the business, right? Or return on ad spend. So if you're spending, let's say, $10,000 on, let me give you an example. Let's say I send out 10,000 pieces of mail, right? Let's just say for this example, $1 per piece, I send out 10,000 mail pieces for $10,000. I get one person to call me. He calls me, he's motivated. I buy that property and make 50,000. My cost per lead is 10,000 because I only got one lead for 10,000. My cost per deal is 10,000 because I only got one deal, but my ROI is $5. I spent $10. I spent 10,000, I made 50. So every dollar that I spend, I made 5 on it. Now I need to repeat that again and look at this data over a period of time. Let's say I do another mailing, spend another 10,000, right? I get one more person to call, one more person, that person wants to sell, and I make another 50, right? It needs to start with ROI. For every dollar that goes in, how much is coming back? So I think that's where people focus too much on cost per lead, cost per deal. Like, what's the point of if I send out 10,000 mail pieces and I get 10,000 people to call me and I don't have any deal out of it, right? Like, okay, great. I have my cost per lead is $1, which is great. What am I going to do with that? Can I cash that, $1 per lead anywhere? Can I go to any bank and say, hey, look at my cost per lead. Can you give me a line of credit on this? Right? Or can you lend me some money on this? Or let's say if I get 10,000 mail pieces and I get, let's say, 50 people to call, which is more reasonable, and I get 2 deals out of it, right? But each deal I make only $5,000. Okay. Now my cost per deal is 5,000 each, right? Because I get 2 deals, but my ROI is $1. I put 10,000, I got 10,000 back. So to me, the most important number needs to be the ROI. You start with that and then start looking at the other numbers. And if it's just for reference, if it's anything less than 3 to 4, that means it's not a very efficient marketing channel that you have in your business. If it's like, I would say minimum 3 is like you absolutely minimum, you want to get 3. But investors that are doing really, really good, that have, mastered the marketing channel, they're making like 6 to 10x on their money. That's where you really start getting efficient in your marketing. So the example that I gave of 10,000, then you can dig deep into it, right? Is it the absentee list that's working? Is it the vacant list, right? So in my case, I spend that 10,000 mail pieces. I got one person to call, and I look at my data. I'm like, oh, this both times the person was on probate list, and I only have 100 people on the probate list. So I might do an A/B testing and only send to probate list, just 100 pieces, and 9,900 to the absentee. And I get a third deal from the probate. So I'm like, holy crap, I'm making all this money from probate and I'm losing all this money on absentee. That's where I gain more efficiency. That's where I start becoming more and more efficient with my marketing. And all the money that I save, it goes into my net profit. And it gives me additional efficiency because now I need a lot less people and I'm more efficiency because my people can be more efficient. They're working more quality leads versus working on just like high volume leads, but all crappy leads.
This is the hard truth that I think a lot of people need to listen to and replay because it's not talked about all that much, right?
Yeah.
People want to hear the sexy, shiny topics, but listen, it's all about net income. It's not about gross income. It's not about units. It's not about any of that stuff. What type of return are you making on it? I agree. I think that makes a ton of sense. What's one kind of superpower that you think this software would have? Like what's one thing that you guys have built in or coded into the software that is, either something that other software, competing softwares don't necessarily have or haven't thought about putting in there, or just something that like you internally inside your business, it's like, this is one feature that I can't live without. And I think it's super, super powerful.
I think it's the KPI tracking that we have like, it's not, okay. So if I ask our customers, what's the number one feature they love? It's the automation, like the automation that we have, the automated follow-ups, because they get deals from it, like year, 2 years,
Sure.
Just on the back end, our system is following up, right? But the one thing that our system has, which I'll challenge everyone listening, watching this, if you're using QuickBooks with any CRM, can you, without using anything else, just by a click of a button, tell me what your ROI is? What's your cost per lead or cost per deal is? It's not possible. It's just pure not possible. Like that cannot happen where you just click a button and you know your cost per lead, cost per deal, and ROI down to the penny. Not made up number, like down to the penny from your financial institution, from your bank, how much money went out, how much money came in by every single marketing channel, right? I'm talking like direct mail, all the campaigns that you're running into direct mail, or if you're doing, probate list, absentee list, it's just absolutely impossible. Yeah. So that's what I would challenge people to look into, is like, know your numbers.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a great superpower that the software provides. But again, like any software, my assumption would be you guys got to put the data in it,
Yeah, exactly.
We used to have the same issues, and that's why people get frustrated with QuickBooks and everything else. Like you need to know what you're doing. Sharad, this has been awesome. It's been fun to see how you've taken your business, created the processes, built leadership around it, and then built a software to support what you needed. So that's been really interesting to watch. One thing we like to ask all our guests, I know you've brought up a few books throughout here, but like what's one book that or podcast that you think everybody should either go out and read or listen or you've really enjoyed?
If it's a business book, I mean, if someone is struggling with systems and processes, I would say E-Myth Revisited. But if someone is struggling with focus, I would say The One Thing. But if someone is struggling with like general life philosophy, then I have it sitting on my desk, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That's a really good book. It's about stoicism, but very powerful book for general life philosophy.
Yeah, I need to quiet my brain down. It sounds good. I'll go through reps. I'll be like, I'll hop in the sauna and just be like, all right, peace. And then other days I just can't turn the mind off. So I have to add that one to my reading list. I'm gonna have to put that one in the thing. And guys, we'll get that in the show notes for you. Sharad, where's the best place people can find you on the internet? They want to learn more about your company, or more importantly, learn about what you're doing in the flipping space. Where can they find you on the internet?
I'm not on any social media, like other than Facebook. So yeah, they can connect me through Facebook, or the best would be email, sharad@reSimpli.com. And if they want to learn about like the software, then they can go to reSimpli.com. Yeah, and check out. We offer a 14-day free trial that they can check out and see if it's a good fit for them.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we appreciate you guys. If you got any value out of this, please feel free to share it. It's the best compliment we can give Sharad, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.